Good morning, everyone. Welcome and Happy New Year to all of you. Let's begin our service by singing together, Morning Has Broken. Let's rise in body and in spirit. Once again, good morning, everyone. Welcome here to First Unitarian Church on this first Sunday in this new year. Welcome, everyone. We're a multi-generational community that strives to put love at the center. Whether you're here for the first time or back after a long time, or you've been here for many years, welcome. One special welcome today, I want to introduce our guest music director. Braden Ayers is the conductor of the Portland Gay Men's Chorus, and once again is here to conduct our pickup choir today. So welcome back, Braden. Following this service, join us for social hour in our Buchanan reception space that's in the building next door. And if you're new among us, we have a welcome circle every Sunday morning to my left in our side gallery here. If you are new among us, we would love to meet you and hear what has brought you to the church and see what questions you have. So join Catherine Esty, who's our church administrator, and some folks from our membership team right after the service for the welcome circle. And if you'd like a fuller orientation to our church, after the service today, we will have a First Steps class. This is a chance to get to know more about this church and about Unitarian Universalism. It's a chance to get to know other newcomers and to learn a little bit more about what it means to be a member. And that will be followed by a campus tour. That will be in the Channing Room in the building next door after the service today, our First Steps class. And beginning next Sunday with a special, there will be next Sunday with a second session on January the 26th. Reverend Alison and Dana Buell, our social justice director, will lead a two-part class on the rise of Christian nationalism and anti-Semitism here in the U.S. and abroad. That will be from 4 to 6 p.m. on those Sundays, next Sunday and the 26th. You do need to sign up ahead of time, so find out more about that in this week's e-news. And finally, a personal note this morning. As I shared in a minister blog a few weeks ago, I'm going to be beginning a sabbatical leave this coming week. Thank you. I'm going to be away from the church for 4 months through April. This will be some time for rest and renewal. I'll be doing some traveling to get away and hoping to catch up with a pretty high stack of books that I haven't gotten to in the last few years. I look forward to being away, and I look forward to returning. The last time I was on sabbatical was in 2012, so I'm feeling ready for a little break. But I will look forward to being back with you later this spring. So, as we gather today, let's take some time now to greet one another. Let's greet our neighbors.
We open our worship with a chalice lighting, and for those who are part of our live stream this morning, we invite you to join with us. You could light a candle or your own chalice at home. And I'd love to invite Sadie and Beatrice Dearborn to come forward. They'll be lighting our chalice this morning and also telling the story for all ages a little bit later. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Thank you. Our call to worship is for all of us, but also selected in light of Tom's going forth. We Look with Uncertainty by Anne Hillman. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. And to Tom, may you be blessed by the light of love during the sabbatical, a love where your congregants give you space and call me or Danielle instead of you. A love with Keith, a love with some travel, a love with some nourishment, and learning to love just being. And may something more permeable and alive be born in you anew. I invite you to rise for our responsive reading. New Year's Day by the Reverend Kathleen McTeague. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. With or without our calendars to name a certain day as the day of new beginning, separating old from new, so it is, everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. Yet also we stand at a threshold, the new year something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. What shall we do with the great gift of time this year? Let us begin by remembering that whatever justice, whatever peace and wholeness might bloom in our world this year, we are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. The new year can be new ground for the seeds of our dreams. Let us take the step forward together onto new ground, planting our dreams well, faithfully, and in joy. And let us sing together our doxology. And I want to invite Sadie and Beatrice to come forward, and they're going to share in our story for all ages, Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love.
This is a boy named Julian, and this is his abuela, and those are some mermaids.
Julian loves mermaids.
Vámonos, mijo. This is our stop.
Abuela, did you see the mermaids? I saw them, mijo.
Abuela, I'm also a mermaid.
I'm going to take a bath. You be good.
Julian has a good idea.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Come here, mijo.
For me, abuela? For you, Julian.
Where are we going?
You'll see, says abuela.
Mermaids, whispers Julian.
Like you, mijo. Let's join them.
And they do.
And now we are going to sing our teachers and children off to their classes, accompanied by a sung blessing, and they will be led out by the light of our learning community chalice. And for folks who are wondering where Reverend Leah is, she is sick today, so I'm guessing possibly watching. Leah, we send you all of our healing prayers, and many other people are supporting the learning community this morning. Let us sing together a blessing for our children and teachers.
It is our custom here at First Unitarian to share our offering with community organizations in concert with our own church mission. This church year, we're sharing our plate with community organizations that work for the rights and support immigrants. In January, we're pleased to share with Innovation Law Lab. They write, "The U.S. government's fast detention and deportation machine works to grind down the spirit of the immigrant. In its wake, communities are torn apart, families separated, and refugees forced to relinquish their right to freedom, inclusion, and safety. Innovation Law Lab provides legal expertise and strategies to build permanent pathways to immigrant and refugee justice. Their programs include rapid intervention, defense of asylum, a clearinghouse for immigrant justice organizing, and immigrant defense here in Oregon." To give, you'll see momentarily a QR code that can be used if you're watching from home or you're here. And our ushers will be through shortly to collect cash and check donations. Thank you for your generosity today and always that sustains this congregation. Each Sunday, we make space in our service to name the concerns of our community life together. A reminder, you can light a candle of intention in one of our galleries, and you can write down a prayer request to be held by our ministers and by our lay ministers. If you're online, you can send that intention to prayer@firstunitarianportland.org. Just one intention to share today. These beautiful flowers were from the memorial for longtime member Ted Okrzinski that was held yesterday in our Elliott Chapel. We continue to hold Ted's family as they continue the process of remembering him and grieving him and celebrating his life. Will you join me now in a time of prayer? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and of no name at all, hear our prayers this day. Here we are, a new year upon us, Spirit. On this threshold, what is it we need to leave behind from the year that has been? What does this new year hold for us and for our world? Ground us in this liminal time, Spirit. Ground us as we face the unknown, the fears about what will be, the fears that come in the midst of so much division around us, in our city, in our country, in our world. And remind us too, Spirit, of all we bring into this time, the grounding of community, the awareness that others are with us on this journey, the awareness that we are not alone. May that help us as we find our way into this time. Help us to turn from isolation and towards connection with others, away from pettiness and towards generosity of spirit, away from meanness and towards kindness, away from hate and towards love. In this new year, may that love be at the center of all we do. May we, each of us and all of us, know hope and joy, and most of all, love for the journey. Amen. Let's be together now for a few moments of silence. Our reading today comes from theologian Parker Palmer from his book, On the Brink of Everything. Looking back, I'm awed by the way that embracing everything, from what I got right and to what I got wrong, invites the grace of wholeness. When psychologist Florida Scott Maxwell was 85, she wrote, "You need only claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. When you truly possess all you have been and done, you are fierce with reality." Fierce with reality is how I feel when I'm able to say, I am that to which I gave short shrift and that to which I attended. I am my descents into darkness and my rising again into the light, my betrayals and my fidelities, my failures and my successes. I am my ignorance and my insight, my doubts and my convictions, my fears and my hopes. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. I'm grateful for this truth as age leads me to look back on the zigzagging up and down path I've hacked out during my far from perfect life.
Have we said that you're welcome anytime? And of course, Braden works with Garrett as well, so he knows we love Garrett as well. And they're fantastic together if you ever get a chance to see them both in a concert. So, what is often thought of as the original New Year's celebration wasn't held at this time of year. It was first observed 4,000 years ago in ancient Babylon, and it began with the first new moon after the spring equinox. It was an important part of the season of rebirth for this agricultural people who would plant crops and witness blossoms pushing up all around. The date continued to move around until Julius Caesar finalized the Julian calendar, beginning with January 1st. The name of the month came from Janus, the Roman god of gates and doors, beginnings and endings. He's usually depicted with two faces, one looking back at the year past and one looking forward toward the year ahead. Which I did feel was a little ominous. What if I said, and the Lord said, let there be light? Because there's electricity, I think. Woo! You know, that might just be our spiritual ancestors, the Puritans, having a little fun with us, because it turns out that the group that resisted the change of the new year from spring to winter the longest were the religious ancestors of the Unitarians and the Congregationalists, the Puritans. They were offended at the idea of altering the calendar around pagan gods. And when Britain and the American colonies moved the new year to January 1st in 1752, the Puritans acquiesced as far as the timing, but they refused to call it January and simply called it the first month. The rituals at the turning of the year and in early January are invitations to each of us to examine our past and to imagine our future. This can lead to a range of feelings, including hope, helplessness, pain, and can-do confidence. People make resolutions about simple or significant changes they wish to make in their lives, and this has been going on for thousands of years. The most common resolution in ancient Babylon was to return farm equipment. In many ways, this is a revealing, and I invite a potentially resonant resolution for us to remember in 2025. First, returning borrowed farm equipment is communal in nature. Apparently, many people were lending one another the material goods each of them needed to survive and hopefully thrive. It's an example of mutual aid, a voluntary, collaborative exchange of resources and services within a community. And second, returning what you borrowed is about being trustworthy. This communal practice is ultimately upheld through the practice of trust, trusting others to whom you offer and share your resources and your knowledge and your services, and then being trustworthy yourself with what you are given. Today, according to polls, our most common resolutions are more individual in nature and have to do with, can you guess? Money, our personal money habits, and second, taking actions to improve our personal health. By the way, I know that some of you don't make New Year's resolutions. More than 40% of the population, according to polls, resolves not to make a resolution, which may well be because many struggle to be faithful to their resolutions past the first few weeks. Only 8% are completely successful in maintaining their resolutions, and 24% fail completely. However, that means 68% have varying degrees of success, from infrequently to more frequently maintaining those resolutions. As we in a religious community are aware, rituals and invoking specific intentions can have the power to move us towards fulfilling those intentions. They can inspire us to action, even if we are imperfect in the fulfillment of those intentions. In some ways, this week of New Year's is just like every other week, no more or less significant, and yet here we are. We have arrived 1/4 of the way into the 21st century, which I believe prompts an opportunity for reflection. Perhaps even more so this week, with yet another incredibly devastating, harmful act in New Orleans. Perhaps this week, given it is 1 week since President Jimmy Carter died, a man who became president near the dawn of the last quarter of the 20th century. And it is 2 weeks until President Trump will take the oath of office at the dawn of the second quarter of the 21st century for the second time. Let me be clear. I don't want to romanticize a time in the past when so many more human rights and civil rights were denied to large swaths of our population. Yet, the largest U.S. political election and who we put forth as candidates and who we ultimately elect says something about the place we are moving in history. We stand with the lessons of the past at our back and an anticipated future ahead of us. Here at the threshold of the present, we may even hear Janus whispering to us, as you look back and face toward the first quarter of the 21st century, does it not seem as if we have been stuck in places, fearful to move forward and to make change? On one hand, life goes on as it always does, with beautiful, immense joys, the birth of children, the grandeur of the night sky, the scientific advances containing the hope to end suffering somewhere, moments of quiet bliss and noisy love, and difficult, devastating sorrows, the loss of a partner or a child, the end of another ecosystem, the misuse of power, moments of regret. All these are part of every decade, even every day. Yet why is it that when we look upon the last 25 years, perhaps at this ominous moment of turning before a new president's tenure, we may be feeling some remorse? Perhaps it is because for the first time in history, when earthquakes and tsunamis, floods, and the missing sounds of bees occur around our planet, we see ourselves as partially responsible. We love to live into our myths, and we as religious people love to tell stories, and we are desperately in need of writing a new one. The one about humanity having dominion over our planet, the one about the land, sea, sky, and creatures existing to serve us has died. Although we may be made in the image of God, we are not omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, as some might ascribe to the divine. Perhaps it is because for the first time, at least in a while, we understand deeply that the arc of the universe does not always bend towards justice or onward and upward towards progress forever, as Unitarians used to say, without the efforts of us bending that arc and reevaluating the course we have set. The myth about the invisible hand of the market guiding us to a place where all have unfettered access to security and upward mobility is dead. It turns out that although the market has brought good fortune to some and has helped to make dents in the scourge of poverty, it is not omnipotent, omniscient, or omnipresent, or remotely moral without us participating carefully in it. The only way an economic system could ever approach caring for the well-being of all is if we remember that it is meant to serve humanity, and humanity is not meant for appeasing, cajoling, praying to, or worshiping any economic system. Perhaps it is because almost a quarter of a century ago, in 2001, when mourning the loss of 3,000 beloved souls, we thought that the best way to demonstrate our reverence and respect for our fallen was to aggressively and at all costs search the globe for any future threats and to put an end to them. The myth that hatred can be slain by the arrival of some foreign hero is untrue, for hatred can exist in any of our hearts, and only we can extinguish its fires. To vanquish the terror of those who hate us, we have chosen to feed hatred. The proof is whenever we forget to count the loss of thousands of lives in other countries, or only count them in selective countries. In our efforts to chase our enemy, we have become like them. The myth that peace can be achieved by war is dead. As Gandhi exhorted, I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. In ancient Roman times, soldiers would march through the gates of Janus on their way to war, and they would remain open for the duration of this struggle. When peace finally arrived, the gates would be closed. I can hear him whispering in our ear, my friends, I have witnessed the rise and fall of many civilizations since I was first called upon by my fellow Romans and countrymen at the cradle of what we now call Western civilization. I, Janus, have seen many things. What I can tell you that I have learned is that there is something hopeful about people who can admit that they are frightened about what lies before them, who can admit that they haven't gotten everything right, who can admit that they have a need to change, and who can find the faith to try something new, or sometimes something that they haven't tried in a long time. So here are some of the possibilities of the threshold at which we find ourselves. We can learn from our fear that although there is merit in some of our ways, we cannot continue obstinately following paths that are destructive and that discount and discard life. It is notable that while we made great strides in alleviating extreme poverty around the globe at the beginning of this century, in the last decade, these efforts have stalled. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's net worth has gone from just over 20 billion to 400 billion in the last quarter century. One of the most powerful developments right now is happening in the arena of artificial intelligence. But who will it serve? What problems will we use to solve it? What problems will it create? This is and will no doubt continue to be the subject of many of our pressing ethical quandaries of the present and future. And no one knows exactly where it will lead, and when for good, and when it will be for ill. Perhaps the most important shifts we need to make, and three that are clearly present in the many character differences between the late President Carter and incoming President Trump, have to do with humility, compassion, and trust. While you might not agree with everything President Carter did, and I was a small child while he was in office, so I certainly don't know everything that happened, I will name this: he was humble and a deeply inspiring man following his presidency, as well as in many days of his presidency. He was always learning and shared his learning with all of us in prolific books. He was deeply compassionate and lived this value with depth and action by making a difference, for example, in helping people gain access to affordable housing. He was entrusted with great power, and he strived to use it for the common good. Trump, on the other hand, many people have asked when the crises will end. Who will be the leader to get us back on track and restore our faith in the order of things? I prefer the question author Jim Wallace has asked: how will this crisis or these crises change us? Who will become the leaders that will help us embrace change? Our politicians are faltering with fulfilling this call. It seems we continue to be frightened of the transformation that is needed in this time, certain that what we know is better than what we do not yet know, or practicing something different. And too often we continue to fling ourselves towards oblivion. Perhaps the resolutions that we want to concentrate on this year is what will help us stretch our own character in ways that deepen humility, compassion, and trust. This time on the brink of a new year, a new quarter century, and of resisting the losses that Trump's tenure may bring, can be a fertile threshold. One place of inspiration for this inner spiritual work of cultivating humility, compassion, and trust, and identifying the companion outward actions could come from Mahatma Gandhi's 7 social sins and countering them. And he first shared these 100 years ago in 1925. And yet, they could be today's resolutions. 1, to counter wealth without work. 2, countering commerce without morality. 3, pleasure without conscience. 4, education without character. 5, science without humanity. 6, worship without sacrifice. And finally, 7, countering politics without principle. He believed that these were acts that lead to the destruction of others and ultimately are what lead us repeatedly to war. There is another ancient practice that is connected to the theme of this congregational year, join the journey, and in particular, this season of thresholds. It is the labyrinth, which, like Janus, is associated with transitions and transformation. The labyrinth is a metaphor from a religious point of view for life's journey and the role of change. True to life, there is not one way to do the labyrinth. Children will often run through laughing and screaming, while adults may choose to walk more meditatively and slowly. Also, like life, each person spends a shorter or longer time in the labyrinth. What is the same is that we all enter and we all must exit. The labyrinth serves as a reminder of our birth and our death, of new beginnings and of endings. From the mystery we come, and to the mystery we shall return. The labyrinth invites us to journey inward to our center, to listen to the truth of our heart's longing, to the whispering of Janus, to love or to God. On the way to the center, you encounter both straight and winding paths. And Reverend K. Bessler Northcutt suggests that these represent moments of desolation and consolation. Milestones of consolation are those episodes that give rise to life, filled with joy and peace, creativity and relationship. Those are those smoother moments on the labyrinth. Milestones of desolation are those episodes of disharmony, filled with despair, confusion, and alienation when you turn and lose your balance in the labyrinth. They are twins along the path that intervene to make us who we are. They bear witness to the teachers of abundance and suffering. In the labyrinth, you can't get stuck in one direction. A twist will come and corners must be turned, yet there are no wrong turns or dead ends like in a maze. In a labyrinth, every turn, everything behind you is constructive, even if it doesn't appear so at first, and leads you to the next, more whole, more holistic step on your path. While we can't change what we have gotten wrong in the past, we can, as Gandhi said, become the change that we wish to seek in the world. All the twists and turns of what has come before can help guide us to a more holy place. And this year, I invite all of you to hold Parker Palmer's question. As he has aged, he has stopped asking the question of, what do I want to let go of and what do I want to hold on to? Feeling that holding on to is too individual of a question and leads us on a path of a fear of not having enough. Instead, he invites, what do I need to let go of and what do I want to give myself to? A question that leads to generosity, relationships of mutuality, and building the beloved community. So today, following this service, Danielle Garrett, our assistant minister, and Terry Martin, one of our lay leaders, have opened a labyrinth for us in Fuller Hall, and I invite you and your children to join my family as we do a labyrinth walk for the new year. May this year's journey, may this year's turnings bring us closer to humility, compassion, and trust. And may it move each one of us and the collective community towards the beloved community. May it be so. May you be blessed, and may you help move towards a happier new year.
Thank you for having me today. The next song that we're going to sing is a round, so I want you to be prepared. It starts all together. We'll sing through the entire thing once, and then we'll have group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. And if you don't know what a round is, just think back to elementary school and row, row, row your boat.
And for folks that like hymn trivia, that was inspired by Paul Gauguin's painting by the same name. And now in our going, may the light of love bless us and keep us. May it shine down upon us. May it radiate out from within us. And may it be patient with us as it beckons us forward. And may it make each one of us more humble, more compassionate, and more trustworthy. And ultimately, may that lead to all of us building peace. For this is the day that you and I are given, so let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. practice love. Amen.